many of you would describe yourselves as being codependent? Do we even have a solid understanding of what that means? I know up until a couple years ago, I really was confused on what that actually meant. My best friend and I, Monica, decided to have a conversation on this. We decided to record it and share it with you because we feel like it's a topic that so many people can relate to, and so often it's not talked about enough. Listen in as her and I dissect the ins and outs of what it means, how it's affected our lives, how we're trying to change it, and how you might too. I'm Sarah. Thanks for listening to another episode of What's on Your Plate. Let's get to it. All right. I am here with my right-hand woman, Monica Gaboyan. We are talking today on What's on Your Plate about codependency. What does it mean? Why are we doing it? How can we stop it? Is it possible to stop it? There's so many questions around this topic. Such a heavy loaded topic these days, I feel like. Hi, Monica.
Hi, Sarah. How are you tonight?
Fantastic. I'm fantastic. I'm excited to be talking with you about this subject matter. When you hear the word codependent, what comes to mind?
Toxic relationships. I would say abuse of a substance, whether it be alcohol or drugs or some legal form of either of those things. I think those trigger me most.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that definition. Before we get too deep in it, let's talk about what the dictionary actually says about codependent. Characterized by excessive emotional or psychological reliance on a partner, typically one who requires support in the way of illness or addiction. So that, I think, is pretty on point to what you just summarized. It is an emotional and behavioral condition that affects an individual's ability to have a healthy, mutually satisfying relationship, also known as relationship addictions. Does that make sense to you for what you think codependency is by your definition?
Yeah, for me it does. Absolutely. I think that really kind of uncomfortably resonates with me.
In what way?
Well, I feel like that I'd say most of my life I have been in some form of codependent relationship, whether it be with a parent or with a partner or even with my children. I feel like I am definitely the giver, and I look for things that are broken, and it makes me feel good to fix broken things, even though those broken things cannot be fixed by me. And it's very disappointing when those broken things can't be fixed by me. And I think that I'm not addicted to substances. I'm not addicted to drugs or alcohol, but the thought of helping somebody in need, I like that. I like helping people. I'm definitely a caretaker. But at what point does it become unhealthy is the question.
That is an excellent question, because the word that comes to mind as you're describing yourself, and I can relate to it, is nurturer. So it's like, where do you draw the line between nurturing and codepending? How do you tell the difference? And when do you decide, or when can you know that it's become toxic? I think some of the definitions that have resonated with me is when you become obsessive with it, right?
Yeah.
When you're not okay unless they're okay.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
somebody else's mood drives your own. It's almost
hmm
like living with an addict
Yeah.
or living with,
Absolutely.
yeah, somebody that is an alcoholic. He's like, you never quite know, or abusive,
hmm
honestly. You never quite know how to feel until, you know how they feel,
Yeah.
essentially.
For me, it's it's easier for my brain to separate the codependency of being an enabler for somebody that's an addict versus being an enabler for somebody that's a taker. I have a very difficult time differentiating between when enough is enough, when too far is too far, when I've given too much of myself to where, as we've talked time before, is you lose yourself. You forget who you are. You're not you anymore. You're just living for that person. You lost all of your identity. That's that's tough.
That is really tough. And first of all, being able to identify it, it's like identifying an addiction, it's like you have to
Mhm.
first admit that you have it.
You have a problem.
I mean, are there
Hello,
support
my
groups? Are there
name's
support
Monica, and
groups?
I
Yeah.
am a relationship addict.
Well, and it's like, are there even, it sounds like a ridiculous notion, but I don't know that it is like support groups for people that are codependent. I mean, there's
I
probably
mean,
something,
I would imagine there's something, but
yeah, right. Maybe not officially as we know it, as like, growing
mhm,
up as a child of alcoholic parents. I mean, there was things like
mhm,
AA that, or Al-Anon for the families of, widely known, right? Like you just
right.
know that that's something available, but I don't know that just off the top of anyone's head they could say, oh yeah, the next codependency meeting is at such and such church in the basement of this building. Go
Yeah,
on, walk in, all are welcome, one day at a time,
right,
right? I
right.
mean, where do you even find that kind of support? I mean, is it something that you just talk to a therapist about and it's identified in that manner? Because I just feel like this is such a common thing. I mean,
Very much so. I I think too that I think people are recognizing more so now that it's really an issue. Creating relationships that are sustainable, of all forms, whether it be romantic relationships or friendships or again parent-child relationships. Like you, I think we were grown up. I think we were taught to believe that no matter what you do for the other person, especially when it's family, family is blood. Blood is thicker than water. And you know how I feel about that phrase.
mhm.
I don't like that phrase. That phrase has been bastardized just over and over again. But I remember hearing that so much growing up. Blood is thicker than water. That's your family. You'll take care of them. It doesn't matter what they need. You'll bend over backwards to take care of them. And for me, I feel like that's where it started, is being that caregiver, taking care of my baby brother, because my parents had to work. An older sister. It's my responsibility to take care of this little dude. I'm not his
Mhm.
mother, but man, oh man, did I try to be. And boy, oh boy, did I feel absolutely horrible when my brother's life took a little bit of a wrong turn and he himself formed other addictions. We took that personally. Where did I fail him? What could I have done differently? What could I have done better? How could I have loved him differently? How could I have saved him? I had guilt about that for years and years. And it wasn't until probably within the last year that my brother and I talked, and he's like, Monica, none of that was your fault. You were not my mother. You were not my father. It was not your responsibility. Like, this has nothing to do with you. These are the choices that I made because I had gaps from my parents, not from you. Like, I had all the love in the world from you, but I didn't have it from my parents. I needed that from them, not from you. That was, I mean, it felt nice to hear that, like validation that I wasn't a dirtbag sister and I failed my brother. But also it's still hard for me to swallow. Like, I do truly feel like, man, I could have done something. Could have done something to save him. Could have stepped in. What the heck could I have done as a kid?
That's amazing that you just shared that. I thank you for just being vulnerable in that regard, because that's a lot of heaviness that you've been walking around with for a long time.
For a long time. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And there's
But
so many
you know,
layers.
yeah, like an onion.
Well, I mean, you talk about, you know, taking it personal that happened, or it was some reflection on, what you did or did not do for him type of thing, as if you
Mhm.
were a parent. And that's it right there though. And he said it too. It's like you were not his parent and it was never your
Not.
job,
No,
and you were never going to be the one to quote unquote fix him, right?
never.
Another
Right.
another very obvious quality of somebody that's codependent is the
Mhm.
need to fix somebody
Yeah.
else, even though it's never been yours to fix.
No.
Um,
Mm-mm.
quite honestly, never ever was going to be yours to fix. It's like this weight that you
No.
just carry around and this heavy ass plate.
Yeah.
That is a heavy ass
Right.
plate. That's
It's a heavy
like,
plate.
yeah,
Yeah, it really
yeah.
is.
So
Um,
what did you do to unload that? I mean, did a lot of that come from just your conversation with him?
yeah, definitely. I think, this year for me has been particularly difficult, but at the same time, it's been really wonderful, very eye-opening. I've really I've really tried to use this year to get my mental health on the right track rather than sharing it between 12 tracks. I'm going to focus on one main track and and heal. Like, I'm always trying to fix somebody else that's broken, but damn, it's me. It's me that's broken. I'm the broken piece. How do I fix myself? How do I become codependent to myself? I need that. I need personal codependency. I need to rely on myself a lot more. I need to lean on myself a lot more, because I know it's in there. I know it's in me. It's got to be. I'm so willing to help other people. I know it's there. I just have to pull it out and believe in myself that I can fix myself.
Yeah,
And
and
me alone can fix myself. Nothing else can fix me. There's not that little thing that I can that something that's going to fill the void. It's not a relationship. It's not a materialistic item. It's not a vacation. It's not money. It's within me.
I would argue that you are not broken though. I mean, I just that term I feel like is, I don't know. I don't know that any of us are really broken so much as we're just in the process of growing and evolving.
I like that
I
better. I
mean,
do like that better.
yeah, I mean, there's nothing in you to be fixed so much as there's just things to learn about yourself and
Hmm.
understand about yourself so that you can move through the things that are heavy onto things that feel just less consuming.
Yeah, that's absolutely a healthier way to think about that rather than thinking myself as damaged goods.
You're definitely not damaged goods. You're all kinds of the best kind of goods in every way, shape, and form. Um,
Thanks.
there's just no getting around the obviousness of that. It's just that we are just so incredibly just critical of ourselves.
Hmm.
It's like that notion of, if I said the same things out loud to you that I say to myself, if I said them to you,
Oh
we would
God.
not be
Oh,
friends.
absolutely.
We would
Yeah.
not be friends, at all,
Dog
because
dog myself so hard.
I, and it's not even to say that I hate myself. And I don't know that you wouldn't go as far as to say that about yourself
No,
either, but it's
absolutely
just,
not.
we're just we hold ourselves to this unrealistic standard in so many ways. Everything
Hmm.
from the way we perform as mothers and partners and employees, and how we look in the mirror and what we've eaten today, and did we put enough
Mhm.
steps in, and
Mhm.
have we made
Mhm.
enough connections, did we go to church lately? I mean, there's just
Mhm.
everything and anything is just
Yeah.
like, it's never like that, oh, you did so great today. It's always that, what didn't I accomplish today, or
Yeah.
what didn't I get done today, type of thing, on so many
Mhm.
different levels, that we just yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
I just can't imagine talking to anybody else like I talk to myself, in the way I hold myself
No,
to a
no,
standard of impossibility every
it
single
would
day.
be rude. It would be so rude. Yeah, I would feel mortified if somebody else if I talked to somebody else like I talk to myself,
For
and
sure.
they would think so much less of me, like, you're not a nice person, Annika, that's horrible." It's terrible.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say about that. What do you think about the concepts of part of the definition of codependency, in that the people that do that, that are codependent in nature, or nurturers, depending on what levels of it we're looking at. What do you think about the notion of that we're also enablers?
Yeah, see, and that's where I feel as if in a relationship, I feel like I'm just self-sacrificing. No matter what kind of relationship it is, romantic or unromantic, I feel like I'm just self-sacrificing, as to where if it were like somebody with an addiction, I feel like doing for them over and over and over again would be just enabling them. And that is, I mean, no way. I can't do that. I'm not gonna go buy an alcoholic booze. I'm not gonna go
Mhm.
buy, a drug addict drugs. I wouldn't do that kind of thing. I would absolutely just put the axe down. No way. And with relationships, I have a hard time saying no when they need something from me that I know they could definitely do themselves, or I know that is maybe kind of crossing a line. I'm like, okay, all right, I'll do this, because then maybe then they'll be a little bit nicer to me. They've been a little mean lately. If I do this thing for them, maybe they'll be a little bit nicer to me. They'll need me, so of course they're going to be nice. Or if I do this nice thing for this person, or I go out of my way to do this, then that part of their life will be better, and they can get that head start that they needed. They just needed a jump start. They just need me to fill in this X, Y, and Z gap, and then they can just take off and soar, and then everything will be fine. That's what they tell me. So why shouldn't I believe it? It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And a little bit is never enough. And then it's more and more and more, until you give every little piece of yourself away. And then
Like,
there's
they'll be
nothing
happy
left.
when, they'll be
They'll
happy
be happy
if,
when, if, very
and
conditional, very
yeah,
conditional.
but then it never follows through. There's
No.
always, that next thing that is still needed to make that, alleged happiness happen. And that's that codependency of,
Yeah.
us feeling like we need to fix something or someone, us feeling like
Hmm.
we need them to be okay in order for us to be okay,
Yeah.
type of thought. And you know what? It's also a way that we have not created boundaries for
I have
how
zero boundaries.
we want us to be, how we want to be treated.
Yeah.
So it's like, anytime that somebody has a codependent type of mentality, where I need to make sure you're okay before I'm okay, I need
Hmm.
to um, be obsessive about what you're doing and not doing in order for me to be able to, fix you. That
Hmm.
that creates a scenario where anything and everything is okay for
Yeah.
them. And it
Hmm.
it teaches them how to treat us, even though it's not okay. And we don't want
Right.
to be treated that way. We are inadvertently telling them that's okay. And I
Hmm.
think not realizing it till quite some time later. And then
Yeah.
we're just fucked, because
Right.
it's like, now this whole time I've shown you that that's okay, to treat me that way, and now
Mhm.
it's confusing them why it's not okay when you
Right.
finally say something and stand up for yourself.
Mhm. Because then they get angry. They get
Right,
angry.
because
Yeah.
this is never a problem before.
Why is it a problem now?
Right.
Why do you care now? Why is it such a big deal now?
That whole
How do you s
time.
how do you start boundaries, though? I mean, obviously, starting off with a new relationship, a new partnership, whatever, you need to have boundaries from the get-go. But
Mhm.
when you're in the midst of something, how do you make that healthy shift and still maintain that relationship
You
without it
know,
being lost? Because I think in most cases, then it is lost.
I think in most cases it probably is because there is an unlikely willingness for the person who is, I don't know how I want to say, who is not the codependent part of the relationship to seek professional help together.
Mhm.
Because I feel like at that point, once you are in the depths of it, and once you are both used to the behaviors that have been going on, I feel like you're not going to dig it out on your own. I feel
No.
like that has to be a mediator type of situation. How appropriate that we're talking about this during the beginning of Mental Health Month.
Yeah, right.
That wasn't planned, folks.
Nope.
But I mean, we are both believers in counseling and therapy and
Yeah.
getting the help that you need. There's no shame in that. And if
Oh my gosh,
anything,
no. No, not at all. I
even
I
if
think I think everybody should do it
everybody,
just
whether you
because.
feel like you have
Everybody.
problems or not, should be talking to some type of counselor or therapist. Whether you're digging deep into the hurt of your life and digging through all the layers of things that you need to heal from, or whether you are, just trying to sort out the drama of the current events of the world, speaking out loud about it is so necessary. But getting back to
Agree.
the point of what do you do in the midst of the relationship you're already in, I really feel like counseling is the answer. If there's going to be an answer, there might not be an answer at that point. Things might be too far along,
Mhm.
um, to do a whole flip flop of
Mhm.
situations. I don't know. That's dependent on the people involved in the relationship, and how willing and open they are to change.
Right. Right.
In a new relationship, I feel like those boundaries just right from the get-go. Don't tolerate anything that you're not willing to sustain
Mhm.
indefinitely.
Yeah.
That's it. I
Right.
mean, it's got to come down to um, making sure that the other person is also interested in protecting not only their peace, but your peace as well.
Yes. Yes. Let's not ignore all the little red flags. There I remember seeing one of those memes. Did you see that movie Bird Box with Sandra Bullock?
Yes.
Okay, so the meme, it's one of my favorites. It's her with the blindfold on, and she's just, rowing down the river, and there's tons of red flags, and it's like me going through life ignoring all the red flags. I love it
Right.
so much.
I can't even believe you mentioned the name of that movie because I pretty much never watch anything.
I
And
know. That's why I was like, "Oh, she's not gonna even fucking know what I'm
it's like
talking
the
about."
one thing I've watched. It's like the one thing I've watched in
Yeah.
like years for myself. Like I've watched child movies and stuff. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That is. And trying to that's a great analogy. Trying to be aware of those red flags.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and because we've talked too about recently, we've talked about the falling in love phase
Um, yeah, we have. We
where
have.
you're unable to see any of those things.
Right.
And I think that's true not only in romantic relationships, but honestly, even in friendship type scenarios where
Mhm.
maybe you are really just connecting with somebody awesome in the beginning, that you're just, of the same mindset and you care about the same things and you're just, you know, really having great
Mm-hmm.
conversation. I think that you
Mm-hmm.
can ignore red flags in platonic and non-platonic scenarios, and
Yeah,
then it's like
absolutely.
you go along and it's like, oh shit, this is getting
Mm-hmm.
a little out of my zone here. What am I supposed to do with
Right.
that?
Right.
um
How do you turn that bus around?
yeah,
Yeah.
a question I have too about turning buses around, or how you deal with things once you're already in the depths of it, is with family.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Back to
I
the blood is thicker than water.
Which I don't believe that either. I think
No,
that's
it's
also a
such
bullshit
garbage.
notion,
It's
because
such garbage.
yeah, I really don't think just because somebody is blood related to you that you have to put up with their shit.
No,
I
absolutely
really
not.
don't think that. I've never agreed with that. Well, you gotta love them. They're your family. Well, no, I
Mm-hmm.
actually don't.
Right.
I don't have to wish them harm or be
No,
cruel to
absolutely
them, but
not. No,
I don't
you can
have to
still be a good
associate.
person. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
still be a good person and like love them from afar. It's totally okay.
Or just, you know, care for their well-being from afar. You don't even have to
Yeah.
love people from afar, quite honestly. But that's a
Mm-hmm.
whole nother layer of the codependency, because there are people I know in my family that I have tried to fix.
Oh
I
yeah.
have tried to you know condone. Even I've been obsessive with their behavior, tried to control the things they were and were not doing, because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were for sure toxic, the things that this
Yeah.
person was doing,
Yeah.
but it wasn't up to me to change the course of that. And probably enabling in a way, because it's, not making them be accountable for something they did wrong, and
Mm-hmm.
just it's okay, kind of
Mm-hmm.
mentality. So, and certainly lack of boundaries,
Yeah.
absolutely lack of boundaries. And I feel like for me, at least for me, what I've done in that scenario is have, kept them at arm's length. Like I've had to
Mm-hmm.
sort of just
You feel
distance.
safer.
Well, that's the only way to protect your peace. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that whole cycle of, and part of this I'm speaking about is from living with, uh, growing up with parents that were alcoholics or
Mm-hmm.
had other addictions. And at a certain point, there's only so much dealing with that you can do on an emotional level of making
Yeah.
excuses for, or sort of just, I wouldn't say condoning, but sweeping under
Ignoring.
the rug, ignoring,
Ignoring.
to where you're just really abandoning yourself over and over and over again in order
Mm-hmm.
to, like, just be there for them, and certainly not knowing how you're going to feel till they feel a
Mm-hmm.
certain kind of way. And
Yeah.
I really think that's kind of it in a nutshell too, is whenever you are codepending, whether it is with a romantic partner, friendship, family, whatever it comes down to, like it is an absolute abandonment of yourself and who you
Mm-hmm.
are. And I
Mm-hmm.
think once you really get in the depths of it, years of doing this type of behavior, you probably have just kind of lost yourself, and you're not even really sure who you are anymore
Yeah.
in a certain extent. So, does that make sense to you?
Oh, 100% yes. Absolutely. I have I have never in my life felt like I truly know who I am. I've always been who I needed to be and who the other person needed me to be. You know, I became a mother at 17. Been a
Mm,
mother for longer than I haven't been a mother. Like that's been a mother for 23 years and I was only a kid for 17. That is
yeah,
mind blowing. You
that
know,
is.
so I did everything for her. And then I started doing things for my partner and then more children and then another partner and then more children. And some of those relationships in the midst there were incredibly toxic. And you know firsthand of my toxic relationships and the things that I endured, things that I allowed to happen. It was really hard. And looking back on that, it's like, who the hell Was I? How could I let that happen? Me now? No way. Absolutely not. Starting boundaries fresh. There was no way I would tolerate the things that I used to tolerate
So
ever.
what switched for you? I mean, because we're talking about 23 years plus
Yeah.
probably of this type of mentality. I mean, what has changed in the last year of your life? What has switched to help you start the journey of getting over that and even acknowledging that it was there?
Everybody that knows me would probably say I'm just the happiest person. I've always got a smile on my face. I've always smiled through shitty situations. Um, but like a lot of these comedians that commit suicide, I am terribly depressed. And there's many nights where I spend crying because I'm not happy. I'm really not happy. And I have to be because people expect that of me. Like, Monica's always got something nice to say. She's always got a good piece of advice. She's always got a pleasant disposition. She's always so helpful. And I'm the last person I can help. I can't help myself. I can help everybody else, but I can't fucking help myself. And so I'm just gonna cry about it. Tomorrow's a different day. But truly, I think the big turning point was when I found my biological father. And there was this void in my life that I didn't even know was there. I had no idea. I had no idea that I had a biological father. I mean, how does your soul know that?
That's a whole nother podcast.
That's
We're
a
going to
whole
get into
nother
that a
podcast.
different time. Yeah.
Um,
Not that I don't want you to
but
speak on it, but that just deserves like its own moments because it's a remarkable story. But go ahead,
freaking
please.
incredible.
Yeah.
But I felt like there was this massive void in my soul that was filled the moment that he hugged me. That missing piece my whole freaking life was filled. And we were just learning about each other. It's not like we had 39 years together. I had no idea about him. I had no idea about anything. And at that moment, I felt whole. From the first time in my entire life, I felt whole. And it was definitely eye-opening. It was awakening. I felt happy, like genuinely happy. And I didn't want that to end. I had to make a conscious decision, like, what now? And it started with setting those boundaries. That was tough. Setting boundaries, saying, no, I don't think I could do that today. I've got a lot on my plate. Um,
Because you
doing
were in a
that.
relationship when you found your dad.
I did. I did. I was very much in a relationship with somebody that I thought I could be with, forever. And there was a lot of codependency in that relationship, and a lot of boundaries that were crossed, a lot of lines that were crossed because I didn't set boundaries. And you make a person very angry when you set boundaries that doesn't want those boundaries. And then that makes you think a little bit more like, why are they so uncomfortable with these boundaries? Like, it's not asking them to lasso the moon and reel that sucker in, just asking them to not call me names. I'm just asking for, hey, like, I just need a little bit of time by myself. I just need a few minutes by myself. Why is that so difficult? Why is that a problem? And yeah, back to our topic earlier, how do you set boundaries and not end a relationship? Because I surely don't know. That definitely ended our relationship. Setting boundaries was the straw that broke the camel's back for him.
Mm-hmm.
But while I miss certain aspects of the relationship, I I don't miss it truly. I feel very confident with my decision to set those boundaries. I feel good about it. Um, I know it was the right thing to do. I know it. And you know that it was hard for me, but
Yes, I do.
I know that it was the right decision. I knew that finding myself would lead to bigger and better things, would lead to me being in love with myself. Like that's cool.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
yeah, being in love with myself. And then in turn, being able to love myself, someone will love me for me eventually. And I won't have to change who I am. I won't have to fake a smile. I won't have to fake being happy. I won't have to bend over backwards for that other person because now it's tit for tat. It's I do
Hmm.
for you and you do for me. I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine.
For
And
sure.
that's all I've ever wanted. And it's nothing I've ever received.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know what is, I think, the disclosure that should go into any new relationship,
Don't be
especially,
a turd.
well, there's that, and expect me to change because
Absolutely.
we are meant to evolve. Um,
Yeah.
Not that you're changing who you are in the depths of your soul or your morals or your ethical stance necessarily, but when you are going through the process of living life in this
Hmm.
crazy world
Yeah.
and trying to navigate being human and
Hmm.
going through all the motions of it all, expect me to like evolve and change.
Yeah.
And I hope you are open to doing that with me.
Please grow with me. Please grow
Please,
with me.
please
And
do.
there's that old saying too, you know better, you do better.
Yes.
So, I mean, why wouldn't that translate into our lives too? Because we should be learning all the time. We should be learning new things, new information, and growing and evolving with that, changing with that, but change in a good way. Like every other relationship that I've been in, I've hated that phrase, like, oh, you've changed. And I've always felt bad. Like, no, I haven't. Have I really? Oh, like, what did I do wrong? And now it's like, fuck yeah, I changed.
I
Why
think
didn't
we talked
you?
about this. Yeah, I think we talked about this the other day. Like when
We
somebody says
did.
to me, yeah, I'm the same guy I've been since high school. Like, God, really? That
Oh,
sucks. That's so disappointing. I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Yeah. Sorry for you. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's
Hmm.
just unrealistic. I
Hmm.
think for anybody to really not change, to truly not change,
True. Yeah.
and then also expect your partner to not change. So I think that's it right there. I mean, just going into a new scenario with that in mind and making sure that that is something that is discussed open and honestly in the beginning, because
Hmm.
as soon as you don't have those expectations and clear guidelines out there is
Hmm.
when you start slowly slipping back into abandoning yourself again.
Right. And you got to hold tight onto yourself. You have to hold tight. Put that freaking life preserver on and just freaking keep swimming.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
Absolutely.
Recognize the red flags. Don't ignore the red flags.
Yeah. I think that what's become a mantra for me on a regular basis is I am not going to change the way I'm feeling based off of how somebody else is feeling.
Hmm.
And I cannot control how they're feeling any more than they can control me.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very well said. Your joy should not be dependent on somebody else. I think happiness can be dependent on somebody else, but I don't think joy can be.
Hmm.
That joy comes from within.
Hmm.
Joy is joy is what makes your soul sing. Happiness is a feeling that can be fleeting, that can come and go, but joy is different.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I guess some of the things for me that I would say, what can we do? What can other people do to stop this behavior in ourselves? To stop the cycle of it is just start being honest with yourself. Be
Yeah.
honest with your partners, be honest with your friendships and relationships with your family members. And it's hard as hell to do that. It's hard
Hmm.
as hell to, especially when you're in the depths of it. But honesty, I
Hmm.
mean, it really just comes back to that age old, age old idea that honesty is the best answer.
Yeah.
Stop the negative thinking. And that's so
Hmm.
much easier said than done.
It is. It
It's
is.
to
Don't talk shit
just,
about yourself.
yeah, stop talking shit about yourself and stop um, taking things so personally too. Like
Hmm.
when somebody else is doing something that is affecting the way you're feeling or you're allowing it to affect the way that you feel,
Hmm.
check yourself. Like it has nothing to do with you. It
Right.
really doesn't. As
Right.
much as you like get off of your ego, like,
I was just gonna say, like, that's your ego talking.
yeah,
That's you. Let it
yeah, for
go.
sure. Like, and yeah, absolutely. Like just get off your horse there to assume that everything that somebody else is
Revolves
doing
around you.
has to do with you. And we don't usually think of it in that regard, because when you think about ego, you think of it as somebody full of themselves in like a way that is gloating, right?
Hmm.
But ego in this regard is you just assuming that everything you're doing is causing them to behave poorly towards you,
Right.
and it's just not the case.
Right.
Take the breaks when you need them. Step
Hmm.
step away instead of trying to fix it and navigate it for somebody else. Just step away
Hmm.
and choose to respond instead of react.
Yes, that right there too.
Yeah.
Choose to respond rather than react. That's huge. Take a minute, pause,
Hmm.
think
Practice the
about,
pause.
yeah, practice the pause. Think about that for a minute, just 1 minute, let it soak in.
Hmm.
And then you can decide, well, quite honestly, you can do that yourself. Or I'd be more than happy to help you with that at a later
Hmm.
time. Right now, I'm really busy. I'm doing X, Y, and Z.
Hmm.
So as soon as I'm caught up with this, I'd be more than happy to help you if you can't figure it out yourself.
Right.
Um,
Establishing those boundaries of what's okay so
yeah,
that people
yeah.
know how to treat you. They will
Hmm.
treat you exactly as you allow them to.
Yes.
That's so true. We
Yeah.
groom people to treat us in a way that we have taught them how to do so. Not
Yeah.
necessarily how we want to be treated, how we have
Mm-mm.
taught them how to treat
Mm-hmm.
us. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where, it kind of all starts. So that new relationship, friendship, whatever it is, has got to start with those boundaries, knowing what they
Yeah.
are right away.
Yeah.
And then that counseling, like, don't be afraid to talk to somebody, or even if
Mhm.
it's just a friend, like speak the words out loud,
Yes.
say them.
But I will say this. You are one of those friends that you're very different. You're very different in the sense that I can come to you with a problem and you're not going to sit there and belittle the other thing that I'm talking about. Let's say right now let's talk about codependency. So I'm talking to you, I'm venting to you about my relationship issues, about my problems. You're not going to sit there and be like, "Wow, that asshole, you need to just dump him. He's a piece of crap." You're going to
Mhm.
sit there and you're going to say, well, why do you think it's going that way? What do you think, you guys can talk about? What do you think you can change? Do you think he'd be
Mhm.
willing to listen to this? Do you think he'd be willing to maybe sit with a therapist? You're very biasly neutral, if that is a word at all. Like, I know 100% Sarah is team Monica. I can call you in the middle of the night and you will come over wearing a ski mask and all black. I know this. I know this
Yes,
without a
yes.
doubt. But you are also very neutral and you're going to give quality advice. You're not a toxic friend. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are. They're quick to judge, they're quick to bash the other person because they're like, "Oh
Mm,
no, I'm not team them. I'm team her or team him." And that's not healthy either. That is not healthy.
that's true.
And we're oh gosh, I've had so many of those types of friendships too that I've
Mhm.
severed because I realized that they're not going to be that kind of friend for me. They're going to
Mhm.
be the kind of friend that we're going to have fun chit-chatting at a party, or we're going to have fun going out on a boat or something like that. But they're not going to be the friend that I go to talk to.
Right.
You're that friend. You get all the nitty-gritty, like all the things that you want to hear and a lot of the things that you don't.
Hey,
And for that,
ditto.
I'm not sorry.
I'm not sorry either. You're stuck with me in that regard. So ride or die. That's what
Yeah.
you say, right? Ride or die.
Ride or die.
Well, at the very least, though, so if you don't have a friend like that, just, write it down.
Write
Somehow
it
get it out
down.
of your
Writing it
body.
down. Oh my gosh, writing it down is so important. That's another thing that I started doing this year is I started writing stuff.
Mhm.
I started writing stuff. You can write things to get things out, but you can also, it's like writing the universe a love letter. How corny is that?
It's not at all. It makes
Oh,
perfect
I
sense
love
to
it.
me.
I love it. Yeah, I'm a lover. I think that is the most romantic thing in the whole wide world. Write the freaking universe a love letter and let the universe say like, "I got you, girl. Here you go."
Yes. I just love your mindset and your mentality with that. It just makes me smile every time. Every time. And you know what? Just to tell you too, like I love that you have those depths of awesomeness to you, but it's also okay to not be okay.
Not okay sometimes. It's not okay.
It is
Yeah,
okay to not be okay.
for sure.
And if
It's part of being human. It's
for
part of being
sure,
human.
like those
Yeah.
smiles, that love that everybody expects to just come oozing out of Monica.
Mhm. But it's more genuine now. You know, I I do. I have this little teeny little light inside, and for some time, I wasn't able to light my own flame. I depended on other people to light my flame, so the flame flickered out really, really fast, and it had to be relit constantly, constantly. It was like a little wet wick, and now it's like heartburn.
Wrong kind of burn
No,
there, honey. Wrong kind of
wrong kind of
burn.
burn. No, but it is. It's a flame that I started, that I ignited, and it's a lot harder to snuff out. It's a good feeling. And so
I'm so
yeah,
proud of
write
you.
those. Thanks. I mean, likewise. Like we've gone through some shit.
For sure.
Gone through
For
freaking
sure.
shit. And we just put on some galoshes and pulled up our big girl panties and we were just trucking through.
Yeah.
And how cool is that?
It's
I mean,
cool. And
yeah,
it's just gonna get cooler.
it is. It is. So write that love letter to the universe and call it whatever you want to. Call it universe, call it God, call it Buddha, call it Gandhi, whatever you need to call it, whatever name you need to give it a freaking name. Call it Jim. I don't care. Call it something. And let that thing guide you to finding yourself.
Yeah.
Ask it
Find
what you need.
yourself and stop trying to
Yeah.
find everybody else. That's on
Yeah,
them, not
everybody,
you.
that's on them. Yeah, that's on them. If they don't figure it out, if they can't grow, it's not their time. Maybe they'll get it one day, but today is not it, and there's nothing that you can do to change that mindset. It's
For
on
sure.
them. They have to find it. Just like I had to find it, just like you had to find it. Like we found it on our own, and it's
Mm.
cooler. It's
It's
cooler when we find it
cooler.
on our own. It's like a secret treasure.
It is. That's only
Mhm.
for you. And theirs is only
Mhm.
for them.
Right.
We're
Right. It's
never
not the
meant
same
to
thing.
walk. Yeah, we're never meant to walk somebody else's path for
Mm-mm.
them,
Mm-mm.
nor could they walk ours. And the
No.
sooner we realize that, and the more we remind ourselves of that every day, because it's a mindset, you have to check in every day,
Mhm.
when you've had this type of mindset for a long time.
Oh yeah, I still have sad days.
Yeah. Oh,
I do.
absolutely. It
Yeah.
gets better the more you
Mhm.
check yourself and remind yourself. And the sadness is okay. It's part of life. It's part of what we're supposed to feel in order
Mhm.
to appreciate the good days, the happy
Yeah,
days,
the happy days.
for
I like
sure.
it. Mhm.
I
Yeah.
love you.
I love you more.
Thank you for talking with me.
Thanks for being my friend and putting up with me.
Any day, every day,
All
forever.
day, all day. We're gonna be like ghost BFFs, just causing mischief.
Until next time, love.
Until next
Thanks for
time.
telling me what was on your plate today.
Hey, thanks for eating it up.
Always. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
One of the goals of this podcast is to peel back the layers of life a bit, to really take a closer look at what is heavy and what is abundant on our plates and in our lives every day. This episode was definitely one of the more heavy topics thus far, and I thank you all for listening. I know sometimes discussions like this are not easy and can even be triggering for some of us. That being said, I do feel like they're important to have because they help us evolve and grow as humans, which is the ultimate goal. Some of my takeaways are finding or knowing yourself and setting boundaries that will lead to amazing things, like falling in love with yourself. How many of us can say that we are in love with ourselves? What an amazing concept. People will treat you exactly as you teach them and allow them to. This is something that you can help fix and control, especially in the early stages of a relationship, whether it's platonic or romantic. And my favorite one, writing the universe a love letter. Writing a universal love letter so that you can begin to light your own fire rather than looking to others to do it for you. I'm definitely going to get on that one right away. I so appreciate you all. Thank you for coming back every week and spending time with me. And to Monica, thank you for your awesomeness, your vulnerability, and just for the amazing human that you are. I love you, girl. Thanks everyone else for listening and for being here. I'll see you again soon. I'll see you next Thursday.